So earlier today, we had an onboarding training with the new junior processor. Do you have any questions? I know you're not you weren't trained as a junior processor. There's a lot of things that you're not familiar with, but
Mhm.
the first onboarding, at least to the junior processors, I think we need to emphasize ERP, um, as well as email templates that they're going to be using. Um,
Okay.
so as you saw, we reach out to the loan officer, we reach out to escrow, we reach out to insurance agents. So there's different emails and most of the emails are fairly the same, especially when it comes to like purchase files. Purchase files, for the most part, we're always going to request the lender packet for most of the time. The loan officer will confirm. We will request the insurance quotes. We will request for the insurance binder. Um, we will be reaching out to escrow the entire stage from when we request that first lender packet up until our funding. So there's different, um, once it's submitted, we have a different template that we reach out. So I kind of want to emphasize those email templates so that way you can let the junior processors or the ones that are being trained just so that they are aware of it early on. And then um, the next training I would go over and I would step in and then, re-emphasize in terms of the Calyx point, renaming documents. But you, as the first onboarding training, I think that would be the most, uh, significant part for the junior to kind of get an idea of what they are tasked to do.
Mhm.
Um, so let me go back and share my screen with you. But before I start that, did you have any questions throughout the training? Was there anything that previous training that you might have done with Peter or Gia or anybody else? Or I think Vicky trained you for a bit, that you think maybe we should add to our onboarding training, or um, I don't know. What do you think?
Um, I think for me the funding figures. Do you have any idea about it?
Funding figures, as in for like the funding department, like how
Yes,
to work them out?
the last step. Yeah, funding figures like the like what Romy working.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because Peter also trained me on that, so I can assist, or I also know so I can assist as well Romy about it. But right now I haven't worked on it,
Okay.
and
Um,
I'm still I still confused about how it works like that.
okay. I'm not trained on funding, so I'm not really familiar with the steps for the funding. But the funding would not be for all junior processors. It's going to be only for um, specific employees that are working as the funding department.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you mentioned Peter trained you and Romy, I'm not sure if that's still being like training because like I'm not fully trained on that portion. Um, Up until when we say funded, that's so we work with the funding department for the loan to get funded. So when we have let me open up the workflow real quick. So this workflow, right? So the entire process from when escrow is opened up until when the loan is funded, we are working with the loan officer, with the escrow company, title company, insurance agents, um, and essentially once we get towards the funding, we work with the funding department. So as a processor, they are involved from opening all the way till when the loan gets funded. However, when in terms of the actual funding,
Mhm.
there's certain items that we as processors have to work on for the funding to be cleared. But as you know, there's a different funding department that has to work on the funding figures. So there's other additional steps as the funding department takes care of for the loan to get funded. So as the processors are working on certain documents or certain conditions, the funding department is working on the numbers. So funding team works with escrow. They work with us as the processors to get all the numbers balanced um, and wired essentially for this loan to be funded and closed.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have this open and then we can go through the templates as well. So that way we kind of know the different steps. So as you know, we have purchase files and we have our refinance files. So I will go first through the steps, these steps here um, as a purchase file, and then we'll go through it as a refinance. They're very similar, but there's certain documents that are requested as a purchase that are not needed as a refinance. Okay. So when we get a file assigned to us, we assign it to the junior processor. So again, this is for purchase. Um, we need to get the escrow contact information from the loan officer. Once we get that escrow contact, we are going to email escrow and request for the lender packet or opening packet. And that's going to be this email template here, this last one. Okay, like purchase only. So this shows how the subject line should be. If we know the escrow number, great, we'll put in the escrow number. The subject address, I would also include the borrower's name. If we don't have the escrow number just yet, we only have the subject address, then we'll just put in new escrow underscore the subject address. And then again, I would put the borrower's name. Okay. So these are
Okay.
all the documents that we need from the escrow. So they can literally just copy and paste this content into their email. If they see the property is a single family, then they just need to request items 1 through 6. If they see that it's a condo or a PUD, which has an HOA, then they have to request all 9 items. Okay.
Yeah.
This highlighted one, the master estimated settlement statement, also known as master ESS, is the one that they would need to prioritize in getting the same day, so that the file can actually get submitted. So we can't submit the file if we have this number 5. We don't necessarily have to have all items to submit the file. As long as we have number 5, we can submit the file. But if we have all items, but we're missing number 5, we still can't submit the file. Okay, so it's very important that they emphasize on getting number 5. So in this case, I would send the email request as soon as they get the task to be assigned. And then maybe an hour later, follow up with escrow just to make sure that they received our request. Depending at the time that we are requesting the first one, and we can probably follow up again at the end of the day to get the settlement statement so that we can submit the file. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So once we get the master settlement statement, at least, or for the most part, well, actually, let me go through this. The RPA is also known as purchase contract. So when we have this purchase contract, we want the fully executed, signed by all parties, including page 16, with the escrows information completed. All BCOs and SCOs are buyer counteroffers and seller counteroffers. Also, addendums. If there's any addendums to the contract, they need to provide that. Our escrow instructions needs to include the loan amount. So we need to provide the actual loan amount. So the money signs, you will delete them and put the actual loan amount. So if the loan amount is 500,000, that's what you're going to put. Okay. Our preliminary report, it's a report regarding the property's title. Copy of EMD is also known as earnest money deposit. So this is the initial deposit that the borrower puts into or sends to escrow in terms of towards their down payment. As you saw, our master settlement statement. So this is our ESS that has all the fees that are associated to the loan. This first statement should only have the title, escrow, and agent fees. If they have any transaction coordinators, they should have it. It's not going to have any of our lender or broker fees just yet because we haven't submitted the file. Okay. This tax cert is going to be the property's taxes. And these HOA documents. This is a HOA demand if it's for a PUD or condo, or HOA cert. Most of the time, we just request for the HOA contact. We as a processors will request the cert, but some escrows will order the cert with their demand and insurance. So if they can put that. And then the master insurance, like I said, escrow will request for this demand, and this insurance is usually included within the request. So we can request for a copy of the master insurance, or we can request at least the contact for the master insurance, so that way we can request it in. Okay. Any questions so far?
About this, wait, let me just check. About this content, yeah. Is it correct that they will just once the processor will email the escrow to get all these details, they can just copy and paste it from 1 to 9, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So
And then for the number 5, even though they don't have yet the other numbers here, like the for escrow instruction or for the copy of EMD, as long as they have the information for the number 5 master EST, they can proceed and follow up for the other files, right?
yes, so as long as we can get the number 5, we can submit the file, but they still have to follow up until they get the rest of the items.
Okay, got it.
Until they get all of the items, then they will clear their task. But yes, as long as we get the master ESS, then we as the processors are able to submit it to the lender or investor.
Okay.
Okay. So once we get the loan package, we are going to submit it to the investor, to their portal. Once we submit it, we're going to get a loan number associated to the file. So usually we will update our Calyx point here, or our ERP. We'll get this loan number, and then we're going to request for updated escrow and title docs. So we're going to ask the junior processor to request escrow and title updated docs. They're going to look for the loan ID here, the lender here. So let me go back to the homepage. So we're going to request updated escrow and title docs. Okay, it's going to be this one. Sorry, wrong one. Okay, for purchase, now at this point, because we're going to have our settlement statement, we should have the escrow number. So you're going to put the escrow number, subject property, borrower's name, and then you're going to request the 6 items. If they have not received all other of the 8 documents from the first email, I will add it to my list here so that they can keep following up within the same email thread until they get all of the documents. Okay, so let's say, so now we're going to request the updated master ESS. Since we've submitted it, we're going to have an initial LE already. So we're going to attach that copy of the initial LE to our email. We're going to request our vesting amendment, our CPL. So this is our closing protection letter. Within this, we're going to put in the loan number and then the lost payee and or mortgagee costs, which I'll show you where to find that in a minute. We're going to request our title supplement for our proposed lender insured lender with the loan amount and the borrower's name, title instructions, and the title E&O. Again, if they have not received all the documents from this original email, let's say we're missing escrow instructions, EMD, and tax cert, I will add it here. So at 7, and we're going to add escrow instructions with the loan amount. 8, we're going to put in the tax cert, and 9, we're still pending the EMD, or whatever the case may be. So that way they can start following up in the same email thread for all the documents. Again, they're not going to clear their task until they received all of these documents. Okay?
Yeah, got it. Brenda, can I ask again where I can find the or where they can find the escrow number again? Sorry.
Yes, so the escrow number is going to be in our escrow or ESS. So this ESS here, the escrow number is this one here. On the master ESS, it looks a little different, but it's going to be this one, this file number here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the CPL. With the CPL, we need to request the CPL to be updated with the loan number and with the lost payee. So the loan number should be already updated into our ERP. So as I mentioned here, our loan ID number, this is our loan number. And then this lender here, it's Mega, right? So here we're going to check the lender and investor page, and we're going to look for Mega. With Mega, we are as a correspondent. So because it's a correspondent lender, our lost payee is going to be under Giving Tree Lending. So where can we find that lost payee information? It's going to be in our homepage, and we're going to put. So the reason why I'm saying lost payee and mortgagee costs is because it's used. It's the same thing, but it's used differently. So some agents, some escrow people call it mortgagee costs, some call it lost payee. Okay, but it's the same thing. Okay, so we're going to put mortgagee costs here, and then it has all of the lenders with their mortgagee costs. Again, this is a correspondent loan, so we're going to use Giving Tree's information here. If we were a broker, so for example, this Home Express one, we are a broker with them, we are going to use their lost payee. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So whenever they are updating the lost payee for escrow, for CPL and also for the insurance binding, this is what they're going to look for. Again, emphasize that they use the lender and investor page so that they can see what type of channel they are. If it's correspondent, make sure they use this Giving Tree one, this first one.
Okay.
The only one that is different is going to be this one that's used for Emmett only, because with Emmett, we're also correspondent. We're also correspondent, but we have to use this different one here. So this one here is only when we're submitting it to Emmett. All other correspondents, for example, MSI, Rocket, UWM, Arc Home, Mega, we're going to use this one here. And then again, loan ID is going to be the loan number that is in our ERP system.
Okay, got it.
Okay. When we get the loan approval, as I mentioned earlier, we get it's a conditional approval, so we get conditions or PTDs to get the loan cleared. So we will request certain documents from escrow, which for the most part will be the same items that we requested in our updated documents. There might be additional conditions, then we can follow up with those additional conditions, but for the most part, it should be these 6 items here. We'll send conditions for the loan officer and borrower. So GIA will send an email to the loan officer, CC the junior processor, and they will get the task to follow up daily to get all those conditions. So when they get the email from GIA, let me see. So can't find the actual email, but I know we did request conditions. So this comment here, she sent this comment to the loan officer, and she requested these items here, and then she tagged the junior processor to follow up with the loan officer. So the junior processor is going to reply back to that email thread, reply all, and they're going to follow up on these 8 items that they requested.
Okay.
Okay, until they get all of these items, then they can clear their task. If they only get 1 or 2 items, then they need to follow up on the remaining items. Okay, until we get all of these items and they're submitted and we get our clear to close, then we are going to, between these, while they're requesting these items from the loan officer and the items from escrow, sometimes we will request for insurance quotes. And for purchase here, we're going to request, we have one here, this insurance quote inquiry. This one is not for all of the purchase files. Some purchase files the borrower will shop. Some of them they do want us to request the insurance quotes for them. So this one can be, it might not be on all of the files, but note that we do request quotes on several of our purchase files. So as I mentioned earlier, they're going to send this email template, complete all the information here, and they're going to send it to the 4 or 5 agents that we work with. Where is the, right here. All of these. They're going to send separate emails to each of the agents with the same email templates requesting these items. Again, usually we don't have these 2 attachments, but if we do have them, great, we can attach it to the email. But for the most part, when we're requesting these insurance, we might not have both of these items, then we just can send the email template as long as they have all that information in there.
Okay.
Okay. Once the insurance gets requested, once the borrower confirms what insurance they want to go with, then we're going to request for the insurance binder. So it's going to be this email template here. Again, it's our subject line, and then this is the email template. Again, they have to complete the information for the specific borrower that they're requesting it for, and then I would attach the quote from whatever agent provided the quote. So if we are getting a quote from May here, and that's the one the borrower wants to proceed, then you're just only going to email May, and then send them the email template, this email, and then attach the copy of the quote that they received from May. May will have it, but just on the safer side, just attach it to them. I'm saying this is the quote that we received from you. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
When our loan docs are out and signed by the borrower, we will request for the escrow closing packet. So we're going to do, let me see. Oops, sorry. What did I do?
지금 우리가 갖고 있는 마지막은 이번 주에 받은 거니까 25일 동안 25일까지 6일부터 지금 결제거든. 지금 받은 게 7일에서 18일이고 제가 그래서 이 전주권을 달라고 했거든요. 7월 그러면 7월에서 18일이면은 19일에서 1일을 말씀.
Let me do this one.
나 후회께 8일에 나오더라고. 네.
There should be another template. Hold on, let me find it.
인컴이 달라지는 거예요? 그게 없다고. 아니 일단 이제 텍스트가 얼마나 잡아요? 버퍼를 잘 가는 걸로 받았어. 텍스트로 받는다고 써있으니까 네, 그게 없을 것 같아요.
After maybe. I'm gonna have to look for it, but I can. So actually, let me show it to you under Notion. I'm not sure if it's not in our, wrong one.
그 소연 네. 지금 헬스 받았고
So purchase. So at funding, once they get the loan documents, we are going to request for these documents right here. So we're going to request, once the bar has signed from escrow, we're going to send them an email requesting our scanned copy of loan docs, the shipping label for the original note, updated settlement statement with reflecting the final funds the borrower sent, the receipt of those final funds, and if they have the final seller CD. Okay, once we get all of these documents and the loan has funded after it's been funded, we're going to follow up with escrow and request these documents here. The master final settlement statement, buyer final settlement statement, the copy of the final title policy, and a copy of the recorded deed of trust. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
Any questions?
Do we have also a email template for that?
I'm
For
going,
requesting?
we should. I couldn't find it right now through the
Oh, okay. Yeah.
through the ERP, but I'm gonna follow up and double check. But we should have these ones here. We should also have it in our ERP. I just
Okay.
couldn't find it right now.
Sure, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was for purchase. Now, for the refinance, for our refinance files, again, we're going to open escrow. Now, with escrow, we have the agents that we work with when it comes to our refinance files. So this is escrow title. These are the agents that we work with. Usually, if we're going to open escrow, we'll let you know whether we're going to open escrow with Central or with Tower. So we have Central Escrow and Tower Escrow, who we work with. If we're sending it to Central, this is the contact information to open escrow. We have her email address. Or for Tower Escrow, same thing, all their information, including their email address. And then the email template to open escrow is going to be this one here. Same thing, you're going to put new escrow, subject property, borrower's name, and today's date. And then you're going to request this. This is the email that you send every time you want to open a new escrow. The first TD, unless it's for a second lien, you're going to put second. But for the most part, it's usually first TD. The subject property, you're going to put the full property address, borrower's name. If it's 2 borrowers, make sure you put both borrowers' names. And then you're going to request the loan amount. So again, if it's a 500,000 loan, that's what you're going to put, 500,000. This mortgage statement and wet signature authorization, if we have it early on, we can request it. If not, then it's okay. We will request it with our updated escrow and title documents once we've submitted the file. So when we send this email, I would follow up with the escrow with Julia or Jocelyn an hour later, just to confirm that they received our email, and then just emphasize if they can provide their fees, their settlement statement or ESS as soon as possible so that the file can be submitted. Okay, same thing. As long as we have that ESS, we can submit the file. Within this opening packet, usually they will provide the settlement statement, escrow instructions, a copy of the prelim, and tax cert. If there's any additional documents regarding the title, they might provide it as well. But for the most part, it's those 4 documents. Again, I would follow up with escrow every hour or so just to get that settlement statement so we can submit the file. Okay. Once the file is submitted and we have the loan number, we're going to request for the updated escrow updated escrow and title documents. So it's going to be this one here. It's going to be for our refinance. So as you can see, our refinance one is very similar to the purchase, but there's some items that we aren't requesting in the purchase, or for example, this payoff. The payoff demand, we don't request it for our purchase files. The EMD, we don't request on refinance files. Okay, so again, updated settlement statement, we're going to attach a copy. I would delete this here, and then just attach a copy of the initial LE, or if we have the CD. We're going to request for the payoff demand. At this point, we're going to attach the copy of the mortgage statement and a borrower's authorization. Okay, so it should be within our shared folders, but the mortgage statement, it'll be something like this. We'll request it. That one looks a little, something like this, okay? We'll send them a copy of this, and then we'll send them a copy of the borrower's signed authorization. So for example, this one here. Usually it does have to be wet signed. So like this, it's wet signed, okay? The dates should be within 30 days of today's date. So if we were still working on this file, we're requesting a payoff, the date here should be updated. Okay.
Yes, got it.
Again, our CPL, same thing. We have to include the loan number for the file and the lost payee. Okay. The proposed insured lender, title supplement with the wire instructions and the E&O. Okay.
Okay.
During the purchase, I'm sorry, for the refinance, usually we already have an insurance quote from the borrower. So what we need to do during our during the conditions, we have to update the lost payee or mortgagee clause on the insurance with the loan number. So this bottom here section should reflect the correct mortgagee info with the correct loan number. So if we are working on this refinance here, our lender is an MSI. And MSI, we are correspondent. So the lost pay should stay, in this case, it would stay the same if this was the correct borrower's insurance. We would just follow up with the agent. So we can call this number, or we can, if it has, in this case, it does have the email address, we can just email the agent here, request for the lost payee to show to update the lost payee information with the loan number, and then we would send them the correct lost payee and loan number. Again, you will go to the mortgagee list here, and then just copy and paste the mortgagee information. Okay. The template for this one, I don't know if we have an email template for updating lost payee. Yeah, I don't think so. But usually when I send the email to update the lost payee, okay. This one here. So I just say, hello, can you please update the lost pay for the following? Well, in this case, it would have been EOI. This was for the master policy. So I include the policy number, I included the HOA, address, the borrower's name, and then the vesting, how it should be. And this is the lost payee information. So let me see for one that's not a master EOI. For example, this one. Can we please update the lost payee and loan number for the following client? For refinance, if it's a single family home, we're going to request the replacement cost estimator or RCE and the paid in full invoice. Again, we're going to put in the borrower's information, name, address, policy number, and then the lost payee information here. Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, once we're cleared and we have our loan docs signed, again, we are going to request for the documents. So let's go back to our refinance. So for refinance, once we get the loan documents, we are going to request this bottom section here, the scanned copy of signed loan docs, the shipping label, updated ESS, and then the receipt for final funds. This is only if the borrower has to bring in money to their closing. If the borrower is not bringing in any money, then we just need to request these first three. Okay. Once the loan is funded, again, we are going to follow up and request the final settlement statement with a copy of the final title policy and the recorded deed of trust. Okay. Any
Okay.
questions?
Not so far about the refinance.
Okay. So yeah, so as I said, for the onboarding, at least for the initial one, I would go through ERP and then emphasize the different templates that they will be using to reach out to mostly escrow and the insurance agents. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So if you don't have any other questions, I think that's going to be it for today. And then we'll, I don't know, did I train you during the renaming documents, PDFs?
No.
No? Okay.
No, yeah.
If you can, join tomorrow's training with Belle as well. And then that way you kind of have an idea of the renaming process in case if they ever ask you any questions, you might be able to answer them as well.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
What time is it?
I set it up for 10:30 tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and add you so that way you can get the email as well.
All right. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.